Nanka, Amobala, Obu, Ufuma, and Diokolo. But the major sites would be Nanka, Oko, Ufuma, and Obu. These 4 communities, which incidentally are the biggest communities we have in the local government.
And when you talk about this, what's the size? Let's get a picture of, for some people who might be watching us now and they don't know the level of the damage of the flood, of the erosion in Orumba North. What are we looking at?
It's quite devastating. I think a study was done in Anambra as a whole, showing that 75%, that's 3/4 of the Anambra environment is prone to erosion. That should give you an idea. That's 3/4. In Oko, for instance, the erosion is eating in from both sides, and despite our best efforts, it's still coming. So easily in Orumba North, at least 30 to 40% of the landmass is affected by erosion. That is how severe the problem is.
So now let's look at the plans of this government. Before this government, has there been plans? Is there anything in place to mitigate it? And then this government, what is the plan?
Yes. Well,
is anything happening before the plan? Like, is something being done? Yes,
well, let me give you an instance, and I'll use my community because, you know, it's where I'm from and I see what is happening. The erosion was probably around 300 to 400 meters away about 30 years ago, coming from the left side of the community. Today is less than 100 meters. That shows that every year it keeps on eating little by little, little by little. There was a major drainage done by RENASCO in the 80s, and that's what has even kept it till now. That drainage has failed. Natural disasters are not easy to take care of. It's beyond the capacity of any state government. Like our governor keeps saying, if you put in Anambra State budget for the next 10 years, you will not even scratch the surface of the erosion issue in Anambra State. But it doesn't mean that we'll fold our hands and stay idle. This government has tried its best and is still trying its best to mitigate the effects. I think about a month ago, there was a town hall meeting held in Oko, which had about 5 communities present to discuss this issue of erosion. So the government is doing quite a bit, despite its lean resources. It's still awarding contracts to be able to build new drainages and all to control, because the major issue with erosion is the water, is the water flow. That's the major issue with erosion. If you're able to control it somewhat, then you've solved the problem at least 50%. That is the major issue.
Yes, I really wanted to highlight that meeting the governor had with stakeholders of Oko. What was the agenda, and how does it fall into the general or the big picture of what the state government is trying to do in driving the solution in that area? Well, how did that stakeholders meeting go to drive the vision of the state government?
Yes, that meeting was, even though held in Oko, was not for Oko alone. It had Oko, Nanka, Amobala, Oban, and Ekulobia, 5 communities that are majorly affected and interconnected in that area. When we talk about mitigation, we're talking about lessening the impact or the effects of these natural disasters. That is what mitigation is about. And human beings have their own role to play because it's a natural disaster. And that was what that meeting was about, how we could discuss, how we could come together, the roles we can play on our own to be able to mitigate these disasters. For instance, a bill is being prepared by the state government to the House of Assembly, where if you're building any new site, you must have a green area within your compound. Most people come and interlock the whole place. The water can't go anywhere. You must have catchment pits in your compound. These are the things we can do ourselves to be able to reduce the effects of the water going out into the streets and so on and so forth. So that's focused on individual efforts. What can communities do? Not every time you cry to government, come and do this, come and do that. A contract that was given for the construction of a new drainage in Oko by the state government about 3 months ago is almost $500 million. This is monies that could have gone into healthcare or whatever the case may be. And still, it's not scratching the surface. There are still so many other sites. So we as individuals, we as Anambrians must begin to do our own bit, no matter how little. You know, they say little drops of water make the ocean. So that is the point now. That is where we are as a state, to be able to do collective individual efforts as Anambrians to be able to mitigate these effects.
Before we start looking at Oko, You know, being from such an area, I know maybe you must have read up or researched or have knowledge of what erosion is all about. So I would like to know, what exactly, when we're talking about erosion, what exactly are we talking about here? Because it's as if we dived with the excitement, we dived into the proper conversation without really an introductory conversation. What exactly, when we're talking about erosion, what exactly are we talking about and what causes it? Like, is it a human factor that causes it, or it's just there, nothing can be done?
Well, we can't say nothing can be done. There's the human factor. There's also the natural consequences. But basically, and in layman's terms, erosion is simply when the soil becomes loose and pulls out from underneath the surface. Once that happens, the soil on top, the land on top, begins to go down. That's in layman's terms.
Yeah.
What causes the soil to become loose is water.
Okay.
That's basically what happens. That's why we're talking about keeping the water inside your compound, having catchment pits, keeping the gutters clean. Because you see people, you know, dump refuse into the gutter, the water cannot flow, comes onto the road and moves into the land. So basically it's the loose surface which gives way. That is basically what erosion is all about, and is mostly caused by entrance of water into that soil. That's the layman's term.
So what are the contributions of people from that community towards that erosion? Because you said there are man-made causes.
Yeah.
So what are these man-made causes?
So for instance, we're in the raining seasons, you talked a bit about flooding. We also know that about 50 or 53% of Anambra State is susceptible to flooding. That's how serious the situation is. But the man-made effects, like we've said, you know, in your house, all the water, you allow it to run out into the road. Once that bill is ready, and we hope we can enforce it, to make sure you have catchment pits in your compound, to not allow any water to run out. But people come build their houses, interlock everywhere, and then all the water comes out. Yes, just you see pipes sticking out from compounds. That is what the state government is trying to stop. If we can get people to build catchment pits, it doesn't cost much. That's why we need a lot of public awareness campaign. That's what we need. The people need to understand. Let me not say it's as simple as ABC, but it is really simple.
Common sense is not common.
Exactly. We need to get the state emergency management agencies to run a lot of public awareness campaigns. So everyone to understand, look, these things, build your catchment pits. Like I said, the bill now, if you're building any new residential property, there must be green area within your compound to soak the water instead of allowing it to go out. Also, we must keep our gutters clean. You see, most local governments are desilting the gutters. But if we don't have that public awareness campaign, it doesn't make sense to spend millions to desilt, and then people will still come and throw in their garbage inside the gutters. Once that happens, it gets to a point the water can't move anywhere. The next, it must find its way out. It spills out into the roads and so on and so forth. So our people need to be conscious and wake up because at the rate we're going, I gave you a story that in the 80s, the erosion in Oko was 300 to 400 meters away. This is 2023 and it's about 100 meters into the town from both sides. So you may think that 20 years is a long time, but it's not. In another 20 years, you might not have a community if we don't take some of these little steps ourselves.
And those are the steps we want to begin to look at. And I want to look at we'll still look at what the people will do in details, but I want to bring you in, especially what the local government is doing under your administration. What are you doing? What is the new dimension, the sensitization or the engagement you are carrying out as a local government?
Yes, so I told you already we have 16 communities in Orumba North. We have regular meetings with the PGs. You know, you have to, everybody must be involved. It's not something that you solve from the top, it's from bottom up. We have regular engagements with the PGs. We try to make sure that they drive this home themselves. We do our bit. We have an enforcement team that goes around at least twice a month. To make sure that the gutters and drainages are clear. We desilt when we can. We do public service announcements through the churches, through the town hall meetings when each community is having their meetings to try and explain to the people what needs to be done. Simple steps, like I've said, like keeping your gutters clean, making sure you dig catchment pits in your home, and so on and so forth. These are the little things we're doing as a local government. The town hall meeting we had with Mr. Governor, we thank him for coming for that, but we hope to have many more. He doesn't need to be there. We need to we can't expect him to come for everything we're doing, but it's good that he came for that first one. So these are engagements we are having and will continue to have as a local government.
Okay, so I would like to know what exactly can be done. You said the erosions are fast encroaching into the communities. So I would like to know what exactly can be done if there is fund. Let me just say, assuming there is fund, what can be done to stop the erosion from taking over the entire community?
Well, there are various methods and various studies to be able to mitigate or control erosion. The easiest and the simplest that the communities can carry themselves is the digging of catchment pits and so on and so forth. But you can also plant bamboos, trees and all that to strengthen the soil. There are some trees, achala, and the rest you can plant, which we're looking forward to doing in Orumba North. In those areas that are already decimated. This helps to strengthen the soil and hold the soil and soak up a lot of the water. That's also an effort to be able to reduce the effects of erosion. Obviously, if there's a lot of money, you can do channels and drainages and so on and so forth to control the water flow. But those, like I said, run into hundreds of millions. Yeah, so these are the different things that can be done. The planting of trees is a very good one. It's not an immediate, you don't see the results immediately, but it's something that helps.
Permanent.
Exactly, yes, it is. In our community, for instance, the youth have really taken it upon themselves to start. We have people who are contributing money because it's a community effort. It's your home. If you don't take interest in your home, in a few years you won't have a home to call your own. So they've started to do that. We buy and then they go into the gullies and plant it. We provide some refreshments for them and so on and so forth. So these are some efforts that can be made to reduce, or slow down the rate of this erosion.
Okay, so I would also like to know, you said it's going to take hundreds of millions, and I'm happy you also said that the youths are playing their own role. I'd like to know how is the level of individual or rather private contributions, like as the chairman of the local government, the transition chairman of the local government, would you say that your people, especially those outside Anambra, outside Oko community, outside Orumba North local government area, those outside who reside outside the communities, are they really contributing?
Well, it's a continuous engagement. Even the governor had to go to Lagos and request of Indian Anambra to come and invest back home. And we on our own level do the same. Each local government can boast of quite a few stakeholders. I regularly take trips to Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, call them on the phone. We need you to come and bring so on and so forth to help us in our efforts. Sometimes it's difficult. You don't always get the result you expect, especially because they don't come home regularly.
So they don't really see it.
Yes, but you need to keep on engaging. You need to keep on engaging. That's the job of a government at any level. You can't give up hope and say, oh, because I spoke to the first 5 people and we didn't receive anything, therefore I'll sit down on my desk and just fold my hands. No. So it's a continuous engagement. We thank those who have already contributed, and once they see the effort, what people want to see is to see results. If they see the efforts of what you've done already, if I'm able to say to Mr. B, oh, I got 1 kobo from Mr. A, and this is where we've put it into. This is the result. This is what we've been able to stop. It encourages them to give and contribute. So we're documenting all we've done with whatever little we've received, and we're taking it out. My plan is every, 2 or 3 months, I engage them. I travel, go to Lagos, go to Abuja, go to wherever. You must sit down with them, especially those who don't come home regularly. And hopefully we'll keep pushing, and by the grace of God, they will see the need to support the efforts of government, because governments can't fund all these things by themselves.
All right. One word starting, we talked about the fact that we're in the epic of the rainy season.
Yes.
And this is the period that you get to see these erosions coming up. In fact, there's a report about a landslide in Oba, where the erosion was moving into the road. Now, the question I want to ask is, for people within your local government? Why we are focusing on your local government? It's not the only place affected,
Yes.
but because you are the person joining us this morning, what can people do to ensure that we protect the ones we have, even before the erosion, the big erosion works start happening? How do we ensure that we protect the ones we have, the lands we have around us? How do we ensure that these erosion, like you mentioned, that is closely coming to us, stops at the point where they are at the moment?
Yes. Well, let me use Nanka community now. There's a school where, in a matter of weeks or so, the fence would have collapsed because of water running down and led to a lot of water going to an erosion site. But they've come together, put some money, got an engineer, they've created catchment pits, they've created pipes to channel the water. These things have to be, and those works, for instance, probably wouldn't cost more than 2 million, 2.5 million. And then in a community where you have billionaires, it's not, it shouldn't be a problem if they can see the need to contribute. Government cannot solve everything. It's impossible. No matter how, I've just told you that 10 years budgets of Anambra State government will not scratch the surface of the erosion problem here. We're not talking about other natural disasters, erosion alone. This has to be a community effort. People must be up and doing. The PGs must be up and doing. You must see this and you must go out, reach out to the people and immediately be able to do some remedial work. That's what we call it in these places. This will help to slow down the pace of, because you may not be able to stop it entirely with this remedial works, but at least you can slow down the pace. Remember, the major key is to control the flow and channel of water. And if you're able to do that to some level, then you've begun to solve the problem.
All right, I'd like to look at preparations. The report has it that this rainy season, I'm talking about this year's rainy season,
Yes.
and the flooding is going to be more disastrous than the previous ones.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know, how were you able to prepare your local government, considering it's been affected by natural disasters? Is there any form of preparation or maybe sensitization of the people that was carried out? And so far, are they ready for this rainy season?
Well, should I say luckily? Maybe that's not the right word. The rainy season, the major impact is the flooding.
Yes.
Right? 53%, like I said, I think it was a research carried out by Action Aid, shows that 53% of Anambra land is susceptible to the flooding. In those areas, for instance, I know that IDP camps are being renovated. My colleague in Ekusigo is renovating and preparing because it will come. It's going to happen. That's why we talk about mitigation. How can you lessen the impact? You can't fold your hands when you know this thing is happening. Let us say last year's one caught us by surprise, the scale. But this year, relief materials are already being put together. IDP camps are being renovated in preparation for the flooding. We don't have much flooding at that scale in Orumba North. Mostly what affects us is the erosion, apart from any other natural disaster, maybe building collapses or whatever. But what we are doing is that constant engagement of the populace. Constant engagement. Manage your compound, manage your water supply, the water supply, try to capture the water within your place. It's the constant engagement through the churches, through the PGs. Like I said, you must involve everybody. You see, the government now is trying to create the community system as the fourth tier of government through the PGs, because you must carry them along.
So you said luckily your local governments are not affected by heavy flooding, but
Yes.
I want to know, what is the effect of these erosions in the productivity level of your local government? Like, does it affect agriculture, or does it really affect the erosion? And then how do you mitigate against what it affects?
Yes. Well, natural disasters, mostly what it affects you loss of livelihood, loss of farmland and crops, which obviously erosion, if you have this space as a mini farm and it's consumed by erosion, that is all your crops gone. So loss of livelihood, loss of farmland and so on and so forth. We advise people, as quickly, let me not use the word lazy, but people like to wait till the inevitable happens before crying out. You know, we know that we're in the thick of rainy season. We know that you can begin to gather your crops and take them out and so on and so forth. So preventive measures are better than, you know, trying to react to the situation. Because we are classified as a semi-urban local government, which would mean that, you know, a bit of urban, but also rural. You must engage the people continuously for the message to get in. If I relay a message in Oka, for instance, I might need to relay that message in my local government 5 times for it to sync the way it would sink in here. So that constant engagement is important, and that is something we're trying to do through the PGs, through the churches, so on and so forth. Giving them simple measures they can take to mitigate some of these effects.
So please, can you give us some of these little measures?
Yes.
Like, for instance, let me say I have a farmland in Oko.
Yes.
What are some of the measures I'm supposed to take to ensure that my crops are not affected? And then, if I am planning to come to Oko or maybe come to Nanka to buy a piece of land, what exactly am I supposed to look out for?
Let me tell you a joke. One of our stakeholders, who is also the MD or the DG of the Bureau of Public Procurement, okay, Zobi from Nanka, said he was at the ESCO meeting and the governor was looking for land for various purposes in each community. And he told the governor, if you can come and sandfill our erosion sites, we'll give you all the all the land we have there. So, I mean, if you have farmlands, it's a natural disaster, but you must be able to know when to harvest your crops. You understand what I mean? You will see the erosion coming. It doesn't happen overnight. You understand what I mean? You must know when to harvest your crops. You don't wait till, you know, and quickly move it to the market or whatever the case may be and sell. Sometimes you may have to cut your losses. You may not be able to harvest all, but half bread is better than none, is the popular saying. Like I keep saying, the major effect is water flow. So that is what we school the people on the most. You cannot dump stuff in your drainage. You cannot let the water flow out of your house. We must try and control the water. That is majority what causes erosion. So,
you know, I also asked, the second question I asked about if I want to, because I know that Oko, for instance, it's an urban city. You said it's semi-urban.
I like the local government.
Okay. Oko, yes, I know Oko is an urban city, and it has a big university there that attracts people to want to come and own land because it's like a fertile land. It's a very lucrative investment for you to own land there, maybe build a hostel, things like that. So I would like to know if, as an outsider, I am not a part of the community, I want to come and invest in land, in real estate, there in Orumba North local government area. What advice will you give me that will help me as a property owner and also help the community? I know you've already spoken about interlocking, but I would like to know, do you have any other thing you think landowners can also do to help the communities and also help themselves?
Well, you know, land, buying land in Oko is like buying land in Abuja. They'll show you a small plot and tell you 30 million because of the paucity or scarcity of land. But it doesn't mean there's not land available. You know, these things cost money to be able to protect. If you're building a hostel, for instance, in an erosion-prone area, you must be able to bring out the funds to do probably a retaining wall to reduce the flow of water and so on and so forth, minus the other things we spoke about within the compound. These are things that you have to do. It doesn't make sense to buy a plot of land and build a hostel and in 5 or 10 years is washed down the drain. So there are areas where you see, look, this place, don't worry, don't bother about here. This place is already gone in a few years, you know. So I wouldn't advise anybody to go to those kind of areas. But there's still places that, you know, land is pretty stable, pretty, you know, solid, that you can buy. But just have to keep your eye on the ball, make sure that you control water flow. I keep on having to say that because that's the major issue in whatever construction. It's so important that the state government is preparing a bill to that effect to the House of Assembly, which I'm sure in any, once this, they were just waiting for the new assembly to be inaugurated. So I'm sure in the next 1 month or so, that bill will be in the House of Assembly.
All right, I want to ask this question before we go. It is understandable that the fact that waste management is managed at state level.
Yes.
However, is there anything the local government is doing? Maybe setting up an enforcement team or a structure within the local government system to ensure that, not just sensitizing people to ensure that their drainages are not clogged, but also to ensure that they clear it when and when necessary?
Yes, your statement was that waste management is handled at the state level. Let me correct that. At the inception of this government, yes, but around September last year, the governor said, and rightly so, that the states will stop being responsible, let me put it that way, for the payments of the contract, so that each local government should go and handle waste management. That waste management is local, which is the truth. Now, are there challenges? Yes, but challenge doesn't mean that you fold your hands and sleep. There must be enforcement. That is the main thing. You can't allow people to do as they please. By the time you find this shop owner 5,000 today, find the next one 10,000 tomorrow, they will sit up and know that
and your local government is doing it at the moment?
Yes. When I go for my morning walks, for instance, my morning exercise, I will see people sweeping things into the gutter. It's just a natural mindset. When I stop and start raking, they say, "Oh, God, why are you raking?" I say, "Why won't I rake? Why will you sweep stuff into the gutter?" You understand? So from this month, and in fact from next week, we're going to be going around. You must enforce, make sure that you have your dustbins, because of the lack of waste bags and the rest, that you see them naturally just sweeping out into the gutter, not knowing the effects it will cause later. Every environmental, and I told you every other, maybe at least twice a month, we're on the roads, especially in the busy areas. Oko that has a lot of shops and the university, if you allow that place for 1 week, you will be surprised the amount of waste that will be generated. So it's a continuous affair. It's expensive because you have to have enforcement team and so on, but it has to be done. The governor will tell you the number 1, number 2, number 3 priorities of any local government chairman is waste management. He tells us that all the time. Anything else we're doing is by the way, if we can't keep our local governments clean. Are there challenges, like I said? Yes. But we'll keep on pushing every day to see how we can manage the situation and improve on it.
All right.
So as the chairman, sorry, in conclusion, maybe a minute or a second, can you give advice to people who are living in erosion-prone areas? What's your advice from experience, then from the angle of the chairman?
Well, I've in the past 1 year as TC chairman, I've been a lot more knowledgeable about this erosion matter because, like I said, half of my local government is susceptible to it. Basically, to understand that this is a natural disaster, we have our own roles to play. If the government comes out and says, clean your drainages, build catchment pits, make sure you collect your water, it's for your benefit. It's for your benefits, because tomorrow you would have to come. The landslide we had in Oko last year, about 12 families are affected. They've had to move out to other places. So I advise everyone, once the government comes out, if they say stop sand dredging, for instance, Orumba North is a Oko, Obo, there are a lot of sand dredging, and there's also a bill to stop it. And you see them fighting it like it's the end of the world because of monetary gains. So if the government comes out and says, do A, B, C, D, and E, it's for a reason, and it's for the benefit of everybody. We implore all to be patient with the government and try and follow the advice given by government to mitigate some of these effects. All
right, thank you very much, Ogochukwu. It's been nice having you on the program this morning. He is the Transition Committee Chairman of Orumba North Local Government Area. He's been talking to us on mitigating natural disasters, but especially with interest on erosion, where is the major natural disaster affecting the Anambra and then by parts of its local government. It's been nice having you this morning.
Thank you very much. My pleasure being here.
All right.
And it's been nice having you to listen to us, and we know you've actually learned. If you are part of those people who throw their waste into drainages, just know that you're part of the problem. Communities like Oko and Co are having. So we have to put our hands together and ensure that we keep our environment safe for not just ourselves, our children to meet it. All right, so now we'll move over to the breakfast news. To the breakfast news desk for the breakfast news.